come along with and the leader of this country will be me. We would start anew, a rest of you.
She come for the carnival. She want to play with George Bailey, but she ain't have no money at all. After she have a pay for she, but she gotta spend the night with me. She comes at the but when we began, if you hear how this magic can fall. Manger, mexer ou cachouer, mouen. Lever, 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 ouvrir la porte, la garçon, mon gars, allez. Ça est, manger, sparrow ou cachouer, mouen. Tried to run a block me door. I said, Dudu, what you frightened for? And then I give you some more money. She decided she could try me again. No matter how I take it cool. I mean, she kicking like a bloody mule. With a kind of pitiful moaning. If you hear how she groaning in pain. Sasae, manger, mexer ou cachouer, mouen. M'enfler l'argent pour jouer carnaval. Bagay ça, café, mouen mal. Mexer ou cachouer, mouen. But not for hell I won't get up. I say when I spend currency I don't feel, I don't see, I can't hear. She tell me, well, please be kind. This time I'm moving like a ball of twine. I say you better take it easy cause you can't get me money who I am. Sasae, manger, mexer ou cachouer, mouen. Gardez mes aimes, maman, et dit non, tout veille en bagaille comme ça. Mexer ou cachouer, mouen.
Your Voice with the NRB, the show where you get to engage directly with the Nevis Reformation Party. Every Monday from 8:30 to 10 p.m. on 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM. Hear from the NRB leader and the lineup of passionate candidates as they tackle the issues that matter most to our communities. This is your chance to ask questions, share ideas, and hear real solutions straight from the party shaping Nevis' future. Call or WhatsApp 766-7312, 669-7312. Your overseas line 917-460-2187. Landline 469-7953. Don't just sit back. Speak up, get involved, and make your voice count with the NRB.
Good evening, good evening. I'm your host, Stevenson Manners. It's Monday, July 13th. And she's back. She missed her June 29th get-together. But tonight, she's in her own rights. It's the second Monday in the month of July. So we've got with us Dr. Patricia Bartlett. School's out, but the diligent professor is in. Good evening, Doc. Good evening, Professor.
Good evening, Steve, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. And of course, I'll take the opportunity to extend greetings to all those persons who normally look forward to their greetings. So, Montserrat, I'll start with you. I hope you're doing well. I think I heard his voice last time, yes. And it's always good to have Montserrat. And I can't, in the same breath, not mention our good friend Jamdong in St. Kitts, because I think those two guys are on a mission to help us over to the finish line. So I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you enjoy the show tonight. My cousin there in the UK, it's been a while. And I'll just extend a good morning greetings to you, I think.
Yeah, it's about 1:30 there.
All right, there you go. And so, Miller, I hope you're up and you have your coffee next to you. In the USA, we have all people scattered all over the USA, and I don't want to get in any trouble tonight, but I have to say hi to my sister-in-law, Leonie. I know I owe you a call, darling, so I'll make that up to you. And Twila, your other half. And of course, Annette and Camilla, my two favorite girls over there in New York, and Keith and all the guys, and my nephew, my sister, my nieces, and all those people who are near and dear to me. Well, maybe not near as in physically near, but emotionally. In the USVI, my uncle is over there, and of course we have Julie and Elroy Swanston. Elroy, I met your son. Hugh Daly. Good night, Hugh. And I think I'll stop there. No, I have to say hi and good night to my colleague there in St. Kitts, Doc, and of course my cousin Sinwick. And here at home, all of the persons who usually would reach out and say, send some encouraging words, even in the morning. Sometimes I get a lot of greetings in the mornings, and I really appreciate them. So to everyone under the sound of my voice tonight, I bid you a pleasant good evening.
Well, thank you very much, and it's so good to have you back. Well, let me say a little bit about the rules of engagement. We know that some evenings people are very anxious to get in. You've got a lot weighing on your mind.
We'll keep it short tonight so they get ample time to call in.
You'll keep it short?
Yes.
Okay, well, let me tell you that we have two topics to discuss tonight. Number one, compulsory land acquisition on Nevis, and the other, the status of Destiny, which is forever on everyone's mind. And my thought was that maybe we'll devote about 45 minutes to each. I thought maybe you may make a presentation going up to 9 o'clock, then we can open the line for 15 minutes. But
Okay.
if you have...
I'll try to keep it short enough so that we can have the level of participation that people over there would appreciate.
Okay, all right. As usual, this is an interactive show, so your calls are always accepted and welcome. But what you'll do, we'll first give the professor an opportunity to roll out her presentation, first being the compulsory land acquisition on Nevis. So over to you, Doc.
Thanks, Steve. And I wanted to talk about this because we have had some anxiety in this, in this society, as it relates to not only the acquisition that we have heard about within recent times related to the Yarwoods for the airport extension, but also for Destiny. There are concerns, and people are concerned that maybe this government might try to use that avenue to get their lands. But first, I want to just send a message to the Nevis, the CCM-led NIA at this point, just to remind them, Steve, of what land means to the people of Nevis. Land is not just a deed, a title deed or a COT, certificate of title. It means much more. It means security for us. I heard your cousin call in one night, and he was saying how he would have used his land to send his children to university. We have lands, and we make sure that we use our lands to provide of our food, because I do a little gardening myself to sustain myself. We use it to build our homes, and we are also proud when we build our homes, and that is one of the things that drives most of us. We want to make sure that our transition here on earth, we want to at least have a house. We need a piece of the rock, and we want a house. And that is the thing about Nevis people. They always strive to meet that threshold, that at least when they leave, if they don't leave anything else, they would have left a legacy of either lands to be transferred to their children or a house. Because ultimately what you really want to, and I've always, I tell people that it's not about me when I get engaged in politics. I don't necessarily like the atmosphere, but it's about the next generation, because I'm staunchly of the opinion that our transition here, we ought to make life better for the next generation than we had. So we are really building. And when people talk about the legacy, that is basically what it's all about. When you leave here, you must have left something consequential. You couldn't just pass through, spend all the money you had on rum, wine, and walk up. And then at the end, you cannot really leave anything that somebody just say, oh, you know, Pat was here, except for a headstone. And then sometimes somebody might have to bury you, and you might not even get a headstone that has on the marking for long. So really, I think these guys need to understand, when people get concerned about their lands, you cannot brush it away. Because I heard a comment attributed to, well, with AI, I don't know, I hope it's not true, but a comment that was circulating in a video with Alexis Jeffers, who was making, these statements, and I thought they were quite unfortunate. If indeed it is not AI generated, I think he needs to apologize to the people of Nevis. You don't be so callous. Because you have the right to take someone's land under whatever law that is created for that, you can't be that callous and insensitive to the fact that people have value more than just money associated with these lands. And so I want to let our people know. I did a little research to let us know that we shouldn't be fearful of government, because there are laws that restrict really what they can do. And so, in the first instance, we need to recognize that the Constitution recognizes your land ownership under the fundamental rights and freedoms. That is where it is in Chapter 2 of the Constitution. And in Section 8, it has what we call the protection from the deprivation or deprivation of your property. And then subsection 1 of 8, and I want to read it just in part. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole thing. But Section 8, subsection 1 says, no property of any description shall be compulsorily taken possession of, and no interest in or right over property of any description shall be compulsorily acquired, except for a public purpose, and by or under the provisions of a law that prescribes the principles on which and the manner in which compensation thereof is to be determined and given. And I'll stop there. In other words, what this is saying essentially is that government may have a right to take your lands but explicitly for public purpose. It must be in the interest of the public. They can't just take it because they don't like you, or they can't take it and give it to somebody else. So all this angst we've had within recent times as it relates to destiny and the lands that landowners are stubbornly refusing to sell to them in whole. Some people have offered part, they don't want part, they want the whole of it. And people are wondering if the government or the Nevis Island administration would move to take their lands and give it over, sell it over to Destiny. But in law, they can't do that. Because specifically it says here, which I just read, that if they move to do that, it must be for a public purpose. So if government comes to take your lands, in other words, they must prove at least three things based on what we just read. That the land is for a public purpose, that the lawful process is followed, because the law, the Constitution is there, and then you have parliamentary laws or the ordinances from the Nevis Island Assembly, which would regulate, tell you how you should go about, discharging this. So the law that provides for that, for them to acquire land, they call it the Land Acquisition Act. Or in St. Kitts and in Nevis, it's the ordinance, Cap 4.02. And the thing is, the law in St. Kitts mirrors, or the one in Nevis, the ordinance, mirrors the act. It doesn't waver except to say the government in one instance or the Nevis Island Assembly in the other instance. But they are the same, mirror images of both, except for those, when you point out what authority it is, whether it is in Nevis or in St. Kitts. And then the third thing that government must do is that they must provide adequate compensation, and it must pay it promptly. Because I've been hearing some talk, and I don't know the veracity of these things. But what I've been hearing is that Yarwoods have been offered a certain amount which goes way below the value of what similar parcels of land in the same area would have gone for. But the thing is, we cannot let what we hear on the road make us think that everything is what we hear is always believable. And so, when we consult the compulsory land acquisition process in law, what it says under the land acquisition or the acquisition ordinance is that there's a process that must be followed. So the first thing that must happen is for the people in Parliament, or in the cabinet rather, whether in St. Kitts or Nevis, let us just narrow our discussions to Nevis, since this is what we're talking about essentially. So the cabinet in Nevis meets and they decide, look, for the public good, we need to extend the airport. Nothing is wrong with that. It is true, the Yarwoods have land in the area, and it is the best. Well, you can't make a landing strip zigzag to avoid the acquisition of that piece of land. So you have a case. You can't stop them. The law gives them the authority to take it. So cabinet make the decision, and they inform or advise the Governor General of this decision, that they have an intent. So then let me not personalize it, but the Governor General at the time, whomever it is, would publish what you call an SRNO. It's a declaration of an intent to purchase this land. And so it says this land, give the description and the parcel number, the land, and those kind of things. And then the government now, whomever they would have designated to deal with that matter, the authority is given to that person would then go and serve the notice on the Yarwoods personally, or if they can't find them, by a registered letter, or leave it at their home, or they will have to make sure that they are served. So they have notice that these people intend to take the land, and expressly for a public good. And so they're doing it for the airport. No problem with that. However, once that is done, and I've heard people criticize the GG, and it may not have been fair, because the law does not give her any leeway in terms of interfering. It is a process that must be followed to the letter, or else you run afoul of the law, and somebody could take you to the High Court. So she has done what she was expected to do, in that she has no other authority to do anything. She can't intercede, she can't change price, she can't negotiate. That is not within her purview. That is not her, let me not say it's not her business, but that is not something that she has the discretionary power to interfere in. So once she gets that, she publishes, she does her part. The 3 months, let's use the Yarwoods as an example, and I hope they don't mind, since it's already in the public domain. The Yarwoods would have 3 months in which to lodge a claim. So they send a claim to the person who is authorized to deal with the matter on behalf of the NIA, and they say, well, based on whatever it is, the value of land in our area, we are requesting settlement in the amount of whatever it is, whether it is $10 a square foot, $30 a square foot, whatever the amount is. If it is that the government agrees to it, because they don't have time to be going back and forth, then we proceed straight to compensation. If it is they do not agree, then it means that we're going to have some intervention at that point. And so it means that you'll have to have an agreement board, a board of agreement, right? Who're going to sit and decide what in that area. So it would be a three-person board established, essentially. If 30 days had passed and Yarwoods did not submit a claim, lodge a claim, then the board would meet, a statutory board would meet, in that you'll have a lawyer who would have had at least 5 years, I would imagine, to be a senior lawyer. I could be wrong with the 5 years. It doesn't stipulate 5 years, but it says, senior lawyer. And him plus a valuer, who could be maybe a surveyor or maybe even a realtor. And then you have a third party like a layman, somebody who has standing in the society, like yourself, somebody who we look up to and we respect, and we know that we'll get a fair adjudication out of that person. So those two persons would meet and decide, okay, based on what is going on in the area, the land is, comparable to the land adjacent or contiguous to this that was already sold for $10 a square foot, so $10 is fair, cut, bam, and they leave it there. Whenever it goes in, it should really go into a trust, so when you're ready for it, you get it. But we know how government operates around here. They don't pay unless they have to, unless the gun is to their head, because things are tight right now. And so that is how that goes. If it is that the Yard would submit and the government said, no, that is too tall an order, your value is too high, we go to arbitration, and it's a different composition for the board. It's still 3 members, but you have a high court judge this time. You have a high court judge. You have somebody who represents the landowner or the person who has legal interest in the piece of land, and you have a representative from the government. And they sit and they go to arbitration. And whatever they come up with is binding, right? Unless it is a matter of something that is related to procedure or law, then it stands. You don't have anywhere else to go. It doesn't make any sense to go and try to stop the government or try to file an injunction or anything like that, because that ain't gonna fly. No judge is gonna listen to it, because the government has already established that it is for public good. And so the only thing that you have any discretionary power or any standing on is if let's say it weren't for that purpose, let's say it was for destiny. And the Yahoo that said, no, Jahi or whoever can get my land, because it's a personal thing.
Yeah,
but, right. So, I just want people to understand that this process is to safeguard us. So they can't willy-nilly do as they feel like. So as it relates to the lands in the south of Nevis, I think that we can relax. It is on record, the Premier is already on record to say that there is no way that they would do that in terms of using that act in order to compel people to part with their lands, because what kind of justification would he have for it? There wouldn't be any, because the Destiny project, for all we know, is a private developer. It is not a government project, and it doesn't, I don't know how it's going to serve our public interest in any event, because personally looking at it, I think that the pros cannot outweigh the cons as it relates to that project that has been proposed. So, we got through all that, but I need to make an observation here. The observation that I'm making is that as it relates to the extension of the airport, we don't know, we haven't seen any justification for it in terms of our way forward, in terms of tourism, in terms of what is it going to benefit us in the near term or the medium term even, for us to extend the airport at this point in time when we are in a debt crisis in Nevis. It doesn't make sense. We're already almost $600 million in debt, the NIA, because it's not only the NIA debt we're talking about the statutory corporations like NEVLEC and NASPA and all those corporations that the government has to assume the responsibility for that debt. So they have what they call contingent liability for these organizations and the debts that they are running up. Right now, we know that Nevlec is under stress because the cost of fuel on the oil market has skyrocketed related to the Iran thing. It is going down a little bit right now, but things have flared up again in the Straits of Hormuz. And so it is likely that this could be a protracted event that is very disruptive, not only to us, but worldwide. And we have to accept that. And so the exposure that would be put further on the public debt must be concerning to all of us. We should be able to rationalize these investments at this point in time. Because you can't tell me that if we extend the runway now, and Jahi is the only one who is coming here, because we have not, as it relates to tourism, come up with a comprehensive plan as to how we're going to build out that industry further, then most of us can still be catching boat to go St. Kitts across the shark-infested Narrows to take a flight to go to New York and the places that we frequently go to. And so it begs the question, why is it this CCM NIA is so intent on dispossessing the poor just to make it, to accommodate the rich, to make the ultra-rich comfortable? This additional $20 million that you're getting from National Bank could have been reserved, because the truth of the matter is, on our own, we couldn't acquire it, we couldn't get it, we couldn't qualify for it, because the NIA at this point seem not to have any collateral that they could put down, because they seem to be now in a mode, usually when you hit crisis, you start to divest. And it seems, unfortunately, that is the point at which we are now, government getting rid of those assets that are not committed already. And so when we do that, what happens to the next generation? How are they going to pay for the loans that we have here? How are they going to, in the future, be able to expand on the economy that we leave them in a meaningful way? It doesn't make sense what they're doing. So you're going to take up $150 million if what I'm hearing on the street is correct in terms of the estimate for what the extension and the cosmetic works and all that is going to happen over at the Vance Army International Airport. At this point in time, when you have people who, the electricity being cut off, you can't offer any help for them, you can't accommodate them, why is it we persist with an CCM-led NIA that has demonstrated that they have no regard for our people? It is about time our people open our eyes and recognize that this CCM-led NIA is suffocating us. Because they're piling on debt onto already bad debt. Because just the interest alone that they have to pay now is unreasonable as it relates to how much of the GDP is dedicated to that alone. And so this coming election, and I usually don't want to get into too much politics outside of the campaign, the official campaign, kickoff. I like to keep it neutral so that at least we just educate people so we can have meaningful discussion, so people could understand firsthand what it means when we talk about people taking your lands and all that. We put that aside. So we try to do it like you say, like a professor would. I can't claim that, that title. But it's time for us to weigh what these people are doing to us. Because at the end of the day, when the Mark Brantleys and the Spencer Brands and the Eric Evelyn's and those persons would have moved on and the debt persists, it means that it's going to cripple Nevis, put us at a disadvantage. But I once floated a theory here. It's not, well, if you want to call it a conspiracy theory, it's up to you. You reserve the right to do so. But I once floated a theory that I was of the view that all of this spending that the CCM NIA has indulged in from 2017 up to this point was to facilitate destiny, to put us in a vulnerable position to say to the people, well, how are we now going to pay for the debt if we do not take destiny? Destiny is now being sold as the savior, as the unit that would put a stop to the bleeding and they really cannot touch the mismanagement, and it seems to me like they're operating already as some kind of quasi-government because they're doing things that the NIA who we elected, well, not necessarily, we elected, we accepted that they're in office, that they should be doing. Case in point, we look at the hospital. I passed there, I see work still going on the unit at the front by the gate, which is purported to be a dialysis unit. Until now, I don't know if maybe I would have missed it, but no public pronouncement as to the status of this unit from neither the Premier or any of his cabinet members. I don't know if I missed it. And you're a guy
You haven't.
well, thanks for that validation. So it means we have to start paying attention, because it's who, they say, pay the piper, call it true. And when I said that, reluctantly I arrived at that conclusion, that we're at this point because it was deliberate misspending, mismanagement, misappropriation of our funds. But the point is, we are at this juncture. What are we to do? We're either going to let them ram destiny down our throats, insisting that it is for our good when we know it's not, or we're going to make sure that all of us who understand basic logic, that it is time for us to rid ourselves of the CCM NIA in the next election, because a vote for CCM is a vote for destiny. They're not letting up. They're still full throttle pursuing this thing, even though there's so much resistance. So I think I've said enough as it relates to the compulsory acquisition of lands. If anyone wants to weigh in, wants to ask any question, and I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I would have read a couple of things, then we can facilitate those persons now for that discussion.
All right. Well, thank you for your introduction. You said when the Brantleys and the Brands and the Evelyns and all the others are gone, where will we be? Well, I'll give you an idea now. The Mario Phillips of the NRP will be here.
Everybody now, let's go!
The Nevis Reformation Party presents a massive campaign launch rally introducing Mario Phillip, MP11, the candidate for Nevis 11, St. Thomas's and St. James. It all takes place this Thursday, July 16th at 7 p.m. at the bottom of Jessop's Road. But before the launch, join the Grand Motorcade. This starts at 5 p.m. The starting point, the grounds of the Butlers Community Center. Come early and be a part of the excitement. Better days are ahead. Bring your green. Lots of giveaways. What a massive launch it will be. Attendees to the launch, you will pack at the Jessup Sport Field. Buses will be available to take you down to the launch rally. Let's make history together. MP11, Mario for the people.
Yeah, there you've got it. This Thursday, the launch of Mario Phillip at the bottom of Jessop's, right next to the gas station. Now, Pat, we're in the Culturama season. I listen to politicians, I read books, I listen to poets, and I also listen to our calypsonians. So we've got a caller on the line. Somebody wants to weigh in. So, caller, you're on. You're the first caller for the evening.
Good evening, Mr. Manners.
Hi, good evening. Good evening.
And it's interesting the comments made by Dr. Pat Badley there. because I've been thinking along that line all along, and it's just today I sat down and some writing. I'm not going to say what it's for, but I put together something, and it will unfold shortly. I think the Premier is in a mode right now where he really doesn't care. He is just trying to spend to impress the unsuspecting. $600 million debt. I'm counting. How are you going to give to Destiny tax-free status? What are you going to pay down that debt with and say that Destiny is revolutionary?
To whom?
How are you trying to fool? You know, I sat down today and I'm thinking, you give Destiny tax-free status and you tax poor people to death. How is the Premier going to account for that? The Premier is now jumping on another last project with all the signs of an unfinished project. I'm going to be so bold as to declare him the king of unfinished project. You got the Mondo track, it's unfinished. You start the hospital, it's unfinished. You start another building in the hospital yard. And I called the Premier and asked him, what are you going to do? You're going to start another one, so you're going to be unfinished? You have one day languishing already. You know what the Premier answered that question? You wait until I hang up the phone, and then he say, I only call in and share my opinion because I got a phone to call in and share my opinion. And that's disrespectful. And I keep warning the Premier, you know, that could go both ways. But I won't lower myself to that. Imagine I called in and I said to him, you got one project in the hospital yard unfinished. And you're going to start another one. Is that going to say they're unfinished too? He said, I would like to think that. He knows that I would think that. And to make the comment about I call in and share an opinion only because I could call in and share opinion. And I have nothing to base it on. When I already told him, man, you got one in the hospital yard, what more evidence you want than that? Let's take the airport. It's going down the same road. He got the blueprint right there for failure. He borrowed $20 million from National Bank. He asked the federal government to guarantee it. And it looks like he can't even do what he's supposed to be doing with it. He can't take people and I don't want to pay them for it. And he jumped and started. Listen, if anybody listen to the airport groundbreaking ceremony, the airport expansion groundbreaking ceremony, and hear that gentleman say, they tell he, the plane need runway to land. So he got to start. He further said that his expensive friends and them like to drive by and see the expensive jet park at the airport. And if you're listening and you're paying attention, you would know that that airport project expansion is not a damn thing to do with Nevis people. It's to do with him and his friends. And then they're going to tell me that I'm angry. I'm passionate. And if they want to call me angry, fine. They should be angry too. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You wanted to...
I wanted to interject while the caller was still there, but anyway, I was just adding, to the point that he was making about the unfinished projects, because sometimes we tend to forget that even in the way they cleared for the parking now at the Alexandria Hospital yard right there, There's a steel frame that was paid for. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, of steel frame brought in, because it's not just a cost, it's about shipping as well. And brought in and have been rotting now. You know, you pass there and they move them aside so that they can get. But those are monies that came from the treasury. And this is how they have been spending. No plan, and that is the problem. You have to have a plan. You have to have a development plan. You have to be serious about developing Nevis. And they have not been serious. If they definitely have not demonstrated that they have been serious about delivering any kind of development plan for Nevis. We don't know where they started, we don't know where they're at, and we don't know where they're likely to end up.
Okay, I think, yeah. Caller, welcome again.
Yeah, Mr. Manners, I wanted to add, I kind of cut on one of my points there, is that he rushed to start the airport project, the airport expansion project. He have groundbreaking because he said he has the money for the runway. And if Dr. Drew already signed off for $20 million from National Bank, you think Dr. Drew can put his signature on another X amount of millions from the Taiwanese fund? When it is clear that what it costs to run the airport in 1 month, they cannot make it. They only make 2/3 of it. So the dance can't pay for the light. And I remember in a town hall meeting for that same airport project earlier on, a question was asked. Well, since it's clear that the dance can't pay for the light, how that gonna work?
Fair question.
Okay.
And I remember clearly the answer was, can you afford not to dance? And these are the kinds of answers that irritate me.
Yeah.
All right.
I would think you know, a man who's been trained at some of the best universities would be able to give Nevis people a better answer than that.
But not in economics, so you must recognize man has his limitation, eh?
Yep.
So
Okay.
thanks for the input.
All right. Thank you.
No. Miss Bartlett,
Yeah.
I would like to give you a word. I would like to give you a word from my grandfather. He said, boy, if you ever go college, no matter how much capital sense they teach you, get some cons. And that goes to the word that goes to the word of economics that you talk about. No matter how much they train you to be a liar or to be anything else, common sense is what will take you through. And some of the things I hear the Premier say to and about Nevis people, that guy needs to go. He needs to go.
Yes.
He just needs to leave.
True.
Okay.
It's clear that he has no interest in Nevis people.
I concur.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, caller. There was another caller trying to get in. Now is your opportunity, caller. So we can take you at that point in time. As I was saying, as we await the call, we're in the Culturama season. And during this time, I listen to all Calypsonians. They often bring words of wisdom. I've heard the comment over the past year that it's only older people who are talking about destiny. No young people are getting involved. Well, I was pleasantly surprised at the Calypso semifinals at the David Freeman Center on Saturday, last night, as a matter of fact. Former debater, former banker here in Nevis, Kedrell Smithen. We'll get back to that after we take this caller. Good evening, caller.
Good night, Mr. Manners.
Hi, good night, good night.
And good night, Dr. Bartlett.
Good night.
I see something brewing, eh? You see this airport deal, did this land acquisition thing? It's a smart move. Because here what's going on. The government of the day know that the airport would not going to happen to the airport. So they make a move to take the man land So the man can get them to court and then they'll come back and say, oh, the hours got us in court. So we can't go forward with the project because they got us in court for this, they got us in court for that. And the next court matter is looming because if it doesn't do no environmental impact assessment and those things to present to the public. And court matter again. So they know what's going on. So they're being smart. Good night.
Good night.
Well, just to address the issue that he brought up about taking the government to court, I think I would have already outlined during the process that there's no recourse as it relates to that. Once it is declared, once the Governor General puts it in the gazettes that and says that this is the declaration of intent to get this piece of land, no court could have any interference in that matter up to that point. Only interference you might have a little later, maybe as it relates to the compensation. And he already said that there's a mechanism that would be triggered if indeed there's no agreement between the two parties. So it doesn't make any sense. That is not going to prolong the process about, pushing it back. But maybe other issues might. But as it relates to the compulsory acquisition of the land, it's not going to affect that.
All right, thank you for that. I was making the point that a young division, a debater on the winning Nevis team in the 2017 Leeward Islands debating competition, Kedrell Smitten, who goes by the Calypso name Cairo, weighed in. I want to give you 11 seconds of his song called The Mailman Delivery. I don't know if you got it, but let me repeat.
I got it.
He came on stage dressed as a postman. His song is The Mailman Delivery. And the 4 lines I played said, "You are no longer the sheriff in town. It's like your horse and
your
carriage broke down." So take this one line from my song. Mr. Premier, I beg you, please, to step down. Let me play it one more time. It's short. Those are very potent lyrics and coming from a 20-something-year-old in our society. The young people are getting with the program.
Of course. And he always seemed to me to be,
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with Dr. Patricia.
Good night.
Hi, good night, good night.
Good night, Miss Bartlett.
Good night.
Miss Bartlett, I was at home silent Friday,
I know.
Oh my
I
God.
saw you.
So much people want to know who this jam down be. I didn't know if so much people want me, but I will be coming over there, come do some campaigning.
Good.
To get the Vida the Vagabond. Ain't no good. Miss Steve.
Yes, sir.
I heard that song in the circus this afternoon, and it's a very good put together song. The voices them so nice, the lyrics is real, and we asking all the young people them to rally around all these girls. Mark ain't got nothing now, Miss Bartlett. He ain't got nothing now, Miss Daniel. JD was. And Nevis young people, as I'm telling them, is the children's future, And them girls trying to pull us out of this. But I really feel, Steve, that man Bradley ain't kill. Thank you. He know he could go where he going, till he lot of money go live. They don't care. And people got to understand what's happening. You see the brother up in New York, Wall, I think he's from Cotton Ground.
Burl Jones, the brother of Dermot Jones, the former
cricketer.
cricketer.
He carrying the thing down here and Win FM. And asking Tulu to come through now and then. Because we gonna get the rid of them. They can't thief no election. They can't thief no more. And asking people in Nevis to support Miss Daniel. Support her. I see good in the clear them. Because they could do better than this. Where we get him from here. Mark Bradley have to go. Have a good night, Steve.
Hi, good night.
And a good show tonight.
Yes, good night. Thank you for calling. Now, it's been a very good weekend. Last Friday, July 10th, marked 1 year since Carleen Lawrence became the whistleblower on this Destiny project. And despite his facility with the language, his bluster, 1 year after and 3 days, Mark Brantley has not been able to reclaim the narrative. He totally lost it. And as this Calypsonian, we'll play some more of the song at the end of the program. One of the things which he pointed to is all the things we don't expect in leadership we have seen for the last year.
Just the last year?
Well, I'm putting emphasis on that because it's been very pronounced.
Okay.
In a leader, you look for trust. All that has evaporated. I don't know why anybody at this point would be calling my personal phone. The numbers.
Turn it off, turn it off.
All right, let me try and do that. But as I was saying, everything that we don't expect in leadership, we have seen in the last year. The element of trust in our leadership, all that has evaporated. When you hear the rest of the song, later at the end of the show, he talks about the lying that we have heard, the subterfuge, the lack of transparency, every negative vibe that you don't want to see in a politician has been on full display, at least since July 10th last year. You're saying it has been on display for a longer period of time.
Well, before 2022, because that is the reason why the majority of people voted against him. They wanted to remove him. But for the interference, he would have been gone since 2022, because people recognized that he was not acting in the best interest of the people of Nevis. Because for him to have stepped back, mash up unity, and then what did we get, so we realized that he was not the person who is sober-minded enough to make decisions that impact the whole society. And so people wanted to get rid of him since 2022. And so come 2027, if it is that it lasts that long, I cannot see anybody reposing any kind of trust, because that has been lost.
Yeah,
and
totally.
he's at the point that he has recognized that. And so, and I just don't like to talk about him, you know that.
Yeah.
And so I just want to veer off at this point in time and nobody with that.
All right. So let me ask something though, because one of the callers played the devil's advocate. They said that the government was trying a smartness to tie up the yards in court. But you are saying there's eminent domain and that can stand. You also made the point that people in Destiny needn't worry, because there's no way that the Brantley administration can prove that getting land for a Belgian colonizer can be in the people's interest. So you think people can sit, that's not an omen, the Yarwood situation is not an omen to come?
I don't think so. If it is that we are going to continue to be a law-respecting and law-abiding, society. However, we recognize, though, in all fairness and in all reasonableness, that things have happened around here that are outside of the parameters of the law and have been allowed to go and challenge. So, but I don't see Nevis people allowing that to happen. Once they understand what the law prescribes, what the law says, what we are entitled to, and that is why I went to pains to make sure I brought this to the attention of our people to say, this is what the law says. To operate outside of the law would mean that this guy paying king. And so the thing is, he has discounted divisions. We recognize he has no respect for us now, and he's just going to do things just to appease and to deliver on whatever promises might have been made to Destiny for whatever reason. Most of us suspect that is because they would have funded their campaign. And so...
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Imagine he rigged the election in the past. Nobody go give him because his joke is making. Joke is deprimating that he's a man but we are going to make it lose all the fans, guys. Joke. He's waiting. Joke. Listen, Dr. Bartlett.
Yes, well,
I don't hold up too much your time tonight. Because you know we'll for hear the professor. Dr. Bartlett.
Yes.
When you acquire somebody land, you have to put the money into the bank, you know. Especially if somebody, no, please, you got the money at the bank. So when somebody they forgot for something and no more hold up, because you want the land more than the individual, right? So if the premier I go acquire the land for $1 million here, well, the millionaire put the money in the bank and the land is supposed to be undervalued. Because you're going to take somebody land for $1 million or $1 billion here and undervalue their land. No. The premier has to go because that's what you're saying. We will come back.
Lyrics.
Okay.
Lyrics.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I hope they don't flag us for copyright because we kind of,
Now, the other argument we've heard that is only politicians are talking. And that's why I have, and I know you have, and many other people in the Federation and in the diaspora have embraced the program which comes on a Monday afternoon, 1:30 to 3, with Coach Adrian. Coach Adrian is St. Lucian, has lived in the Federation for 35 years, worked at Central Bank, lectured at the university. I don't think he has a dog in the fight. So
he's St. Lucian by birth, mind you. You have to have full disclosure, but he's a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis.
All right, let's take this call and we'll get back to that. Welcome, caller.
Yeah, Steve, another point I wanted to make is asking Dr. Drew to sign the Destiny project and to sign the loan from Taiwan is like a death warrant for Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew, no. If he sign the Destiny project, and the firing squad they go between for St. Kitts people.
Political. Yeah. The political.
We'll get to Destiny in a little bit.
Yes. Sorry. No. Yeah. It's a political death warrant.
Thanks.
Yes, I want to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be careful with that. Yeah, he signed his own political death warrant. And to sign the one from China, Taiwan, if the airport, why spend the money? When you know for sure the airport can't pay for it. Who do you think they have to pay for it? Mark Bradley can't pay for it. I didn't even say the government can't pay for it. So he going to have to pay for it. That's another death warrant.
I think he's well aware.
I do not. There you go. So when the premier with the bravado going all over the place and saying this and saying that, imagine the premier in his last press conference said that he saw a post on social media saying that landowners in the area, and I know pretty much most of them, and not it's only the premier saw that post where landowners are saying that their lands are for sale, and if anybody is against Destiny, they must come by their land. I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever heard coming from anybody. Anybody. I know you couldn't hear that from a man in the street. Because if a landowner, land is for sale, and Destiny is buying, why not go sell the land to Destiny? Why go on social media and make a fool of yourself? That is a strong premier put up on that long so you could feel good. I assure you. That's all. I mean, no sensible person would want to sell the land and escape the pressures from Sharon Bradley. To come to tell anybody who is against Destiny. So if you land is for sale, Destiny, I mean, how dumb you gotta be? Go sell them to Destiny. You know what it tells me? Is that Destiny and Mark Brantley do not have the lands they say they have.
Okay.
That's the only other way. They do not have the lands they say they have.
Yep.
So he's coming up with all sorts of straw man and knocking them down so he could feel good.
Well, it's not for us. He's for himself. That's what the theme is tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I was making the point about Coach Adrian. One of the points he made today is that this project has been with the federal government for months.
But we can get to the Destiny discussion later on. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, let me just get this in and then, well, we're easing into it. And basically, he is saying that it's a very, very difficult decision for the Prime Minister. When you look at the backdrop to what the IMF report has said, that we're in dire straits, their savings are dwindling, the economy is in terrible shape. And so this project offers a prospect for recovery. So it's not as easy as we think. And we see how the Prime Minister has been jostling. I think he's happy when he's away from the Federation because he can be doing other things and not dealing with the Destiny matter. But the other point he made is that in light of what the EU has said, where they want to bring an end to the CBI programs in the region, and we only found out that because of a proactive Gaston Brown. But when they gathered in St. Lucia for the 54th meeting of the OECS, of course, they came out with a joint communique which has been sent to the EU in Brussels. But the point is, Destiny is supposed to be a CBI project. So we're introducing that at a time when there's enormous pressure to end the program within 2 years. Is that an explanation why the Prime Minister has been sitting on this for 6 months?
Am I supposed to answer? Is
it damn that if he does and damn if he doesn't?
Rhetorical?
Well,
oh, you're asked.
You said you want to get into the Destiny, so present what you have for us if you
well,
want to.
Well, to answer the question though, we have been hearing, and the caller, I think at this point there's something going on between him and the Premier. But he needs to understand that at this point, the Premier's best defense is what he's doing right now. He's just posturing. You know, it is just posturing. So we don't need to take him seriously. We just need to watch what is going on, keep our eyes on the ball. All this sidebar thing, you don't get involved in those things. He's just trying to distract and posture in this at the same time. And yeah, it put Dr. Drew in a rough situation. The CBI have been dwindling. There wasn't, I don't know, because based on what I've seen coming from the little drips we've been getting out of the development agreement, I've not seen anything to concretize for me that there is indeed an acknowledgement that the CBI would be featured in that project. It's because remember at some point the Premier was making the point that everybody's going to have to pay for the processing fee for a passport, whether they wanted it or not. But by virtue of trying to give them status as citizens, they're not born here, their parents not born here, they're not married to people here, so that kind of take them off of the citizen list in terms of qualification. And so the only other option seemed to be through the citizen by investment. Now, is the investment going to be, and it wouldn't make sense for us to let the investment to be tied to the Destiny project proper, because there are carve-outs that have been made in the past in that the monies that come in don't necessarily have to go to support that project. The monies could be diverted to maybe the bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis, And so the things that they sell, they sell shares into that project, not necessarily the Destiny project, because you cannot get anybody on neither Nevis or Syndicate to support Destiny as a CBI project for the monies to go to the developer that is responsible for Destiny. So alternatively, in order for that to be palatable to any of us, then it means that you're going to have to seek a diversion, something different in terms of finding another project, whether it is a school project, something for the government, for that money, those monies to be invested in, and not be invested in the development of Destiny to the extent that we know would be paying to put a wall between us and Destiny. And we would be paying for the water, for them to set up water systems over there, or the geothermal that we understand that they want to do all those developments on that side. It would make sense. And so I don't think, and like I said, I haven't seen anything yet to indicate to me that this development agreement is reflecting that there is that involvement of the CBI. I'm not trying to take it off the table because it's not in my place to take it off. Maybe it is something that is being considered. But I'm just saying the justification can't be that the money would go to Destiny, right? Did I answer that good enough?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay, you'll take that for now.
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good night, sir.
Hi, good night.
Good night, Carl.
Good night, cuz. How are you doing?
I am okay. Glad you explained, because I was tempting to call and ask Mr. Manners to explain to me how can Destiny be a CBI project when the Premier said the people are billionaires and they're coming in with this load of money? Yeah, I was about to call and ask that, but then we couldn't explain it a little clearer. Okay, let me say Miss Bartlett, because...
Man, your cousin, stick with that.
I still
You want this old me on the radio make me feel bad?
No, a lot of people may not know who I am, so...
That's okay.
Yes, that's why I called. But you explain it before I actually get in.
Thanks for calling.
Good, you're welcome, no problem.
All right, thank you very much for calling.
Yeah. So, okay, so issues have been raised tonight, you know, and maybe we should just address those issues, or maybe we could just add to the table. And I think primarily what the concern would have been the exposure, the debt exposure to not only Nevis but St. Kitts. And just to add to that, I don't know of any financial secretary who would advise Dr. Joe to sign off on any more loans for Nevis that don't go towards something meaningful. We are at the point now, we have exhausted almost, we are operating in Nevis now, like, and I don't want to use the analogy loosely, but that's the one that comes to mind right now. You know, when you have a drug addict, when they would have used all of their available resources, they start stealing from their people. And this
sell
is
their people things.
They sell out everything that they have, and then they start stealing from the people. And so that is what is happening currently in Nevis. For Destiny, to facilitate Destiny, the NIA is now proposing to grab some lands over in the south area that is the portion to the back of Brown Hill that obviously belong to Brown Hill people, but because it is untitled land, the Premier, and his cabal, they want to grab these lands and sell them. And we're talking about lands about, I think somebody was telling me in the region of about 200 plus acres of lands that are untitled. It doesn't mean because they're untitled that they don't belong to people. They belong to people, and particularly people from Brown Hill. A lot of people would have migrated, and that would not have been, you know, the most important thing on their list of things to do. Until sometimes when it's close to retirement and they want to come back home, then they start scampering around to try to find documents and start to find out where the lands that their parents or their grandparents would have left, where they are located, and those kind of things. And so we have to be able to facilitate those people fairly. You know, we can't let the Premier and his cabal grab these lands and turn them into money so that they could get the money to spend. Because if they spend, if they were to get this 200 acres of untitled lands and sell these lands, and let us assume that we are operating with the average for what land sales over there might be at this point, and I am just guesstimating, it's an assumption I'm making, subject to change. Let's say we're assuming that it's $5 a square foot. We are talking about in the region of about $44 million that they can recover from lands, but the lands ain't belong to them. Those lands do not belong to them. If it is that they were going to say those lands that are entitled in that area, we would do whatever, but we would put the monies in trust, or even the lands. I think they should really put the lands in trust and preserve it for those people when they come back to make their claims, and we can settle them and make sure that everybody at the end of the day is made whole. But for them to target these lands with the help of a surveyor, mind you, a Christian surveyor, I don't think it is fair. And we need to speak out on these things, and we need to raise the decibel. People need to hear it. We need to say it loud enough that our people in the diaspora start to pay attention. And particularly those who, over time, might have been supporting the CCM, but we realize that they're dwindling. But those who still have a mind to just close their eyes, put on blinkers, we need to make sure that they hear. We need to raise our voices. We need to find whatever mechanism we can to get to those people, to make them aware that they have a stake here. He's out there inviting us, our people in the diaspora, to come back home, but come back home to what? Invest in what? Where we are now, it is a matter of us trying to find new frontiers, and that area would have been an area that we would have already identified in NRP as the next frontier for development in Nevis. And so our people need to pay attention to that. And so it is not right, and I'm putting the Premier notice. Every opportunity I get, I'm going to be blasting it out there. The lands at the back of Brown Hill belong to Brown Hill people, and maybe one or two other people sprinkling in between who are not from Brown Hill. But those lands must be protected for the people of Brown Hill. And so I want to put him on notice that I'm not going to sit quietly. And I've already spoken to a lawyer who said, well, maybe what we could do, the intervention that could happen on behalf of our people out there, we must get these lands in trust, and we must preserve them for when our people come back to invest or to
with this morning I see him there looking solemn, appealing to people in the diaspora, people who he done this, and said they doing evil got a foul cub here.
Yes.
But now he inviting them back while their lands are being taken up.
Yes, and it's not fair. We can't sit here and watch the dispossession of our people in order to accommodate those people who have it, the ultra-rich.
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to your voice.
Yeah, Mr. Manoj and Dr. Bartlett, and if Carlisle listen, and if Dr. Daly listen, take this information. When they listen to BBC News over the weekend, you got a piece of land between Croatia and one other country there, that they call Libro land. You hear the name?
Say it again. Repeat the name.
Okay, liberal land, like libertarian, but it cut short to libertarian. So liberal land, right? The owner to the land, let me say the first now is something done established already. I want Chinaman, and the Chinaman and Donald Trump children them are very good friends. But
okay.
Donald Trump himself and the Chinaman none of business. On the land, a crypto are the money that they spend.
Yeah.
Yeah, crypto. Yeah. Then I deal with. You see what happened now? The Chinaman say he want to be free from all government. You don't want no government interference at all. And not the future. Listen to this here. Not the future. He expect that the people them will look towards them for help and not the government, because them are going to richer than the government. You get that?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah. So type in BBC News. The liberal interview, and you'll get all the information.
Definitely I'll do that.
Right.
Thanks for sharing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay then.
All right. I
Thanks.
know of at least two other persons who have mentioned to me over the weekend. I don't know if it's the same program, but one person, two persons who were watching the BBC, heard some things about libertarians and all that stuff which Montserrat talked about, which said was an eye-opener to them. So we got to be aware of what's happening around us, and so we thank Montserrat for that.
Yep. So back to the story at hand. So the CCM NIA, they really don't care about us. I don't think that they care about the debt that they would leave behind. And so they're just going along. And like I said, it seems to me as if their goal now is just to marginalize us even further, accommodate these people for whatever gains that they can make. And we cannot turn a blind eye to that, because we do know that the realtor alone is likely to make, and this is a conservative estimate, I've used the lower end of what the commission could be on those lands, using $5 a square foot. And we're talking about no less than $51 million just for the realtor alone. So you understand why these people are pushing this thing.
All right, caller, you're on.
Okay, I just want to make mention of a situation. Back in 2015, while doing some work in the area with a surveyor, I was told by the surveyor that that bit of land in the back there doesn't have any owner, that I should claim it. So
I hope it's not the Christian one.
Okay. So I said, let's get this 2 acres sorted out. And then, we could deal with that. So the minute I got the 2 acres sorted out, I was out of the bush. I didn't ask any question. I wasn't told anything after that. Fast forward to about 2 years ago, when I was approached by a realtor wanting to find out about North Wales Estate. And I had some information. I know where it is. I had some information. I checked it out, and I pointed her in the right direction. A little later on, I was at an office. I was able to get a glimpse of the cadastral survey map. I was looking for certain things in particular in relation to my estate. And when I was done, I said to the officer, could we go check on this bit of land? And sure enough, the lady's name was on the land, the owner of the land. And it's part of the North Wales Estate that is higher up this piece is to the sea. So chances are the same people who inherited North Wales Estate are the owners of that land. And that could be a bit of the land that the Premier is scraping up. I've got to make sure, get in touch with these people, let them know what I notice, and they should look into it. They've been dragging their foot because, some little dispute and all that, but I think they've got it down now that they need to get themselves organized. Otherwise, the Premier will be moving in.
All right, thanks for that admonition. Okay, we've got 14 minutes to 10. That's all the time we've got, and we want you to get in as many calls as possible. Pat, as I said, Friday marked 1 year since Carleen blew the whistle. And people are getting tired. I've heard many people say over the last week, it's time for the country to settle down. Cairo said that in its Calypso as well. It's causing a lot of division in the country. When you were here last, you put November 5th as something you have gleaned as a demarcation line, an end line for destiny. Peter Adrian today, he went down that road as well, And I thought he was going to say November, but then he said October. This thing has to come to an end. Can't go on forever. Where will this thing end?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know when it's going to end. All I know is that right now these people are very persistent, and the election probably is a feature in the whole scheme of things.
Not probably. It is a feature.
You know, and so
the government is scrambling for issues and for projects because hardly anything they've done have come to much.
Right. So I don't know what the end game is as it relates to the Destiny deadline. It seems to me like they anticipated that by then the agreement would have been signed, and at that point is when they could really say, well, nothing applies over here anymore as it relates to your laws, and it means that we would have created a third, element in the whole constitutional construct of St. Kitts Nevis, the territory, because the Constitution really seriously does not give Parliament the powers to further indulge in the devolution of powers to any other entities outside of Nevis. The Constitution explicitly devolves powers to the Nevis Island Assembly, and it does not recognize or doesn't give Parliament any powers to say, well, we're going to create another entity that is devolved, that has autonomy, because essentially what they're asking for, what we've seen, which was predicated by the Parliament, in Parliament with the SSZ, is that essentially these people are asking for powers that are almost equivalent or even exceeding the powers that have been devolved to Nevis. And we're talking about those elements in Schedule 5 that we are calling the specified matters. And so in Nevis, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for that, because what Parliament does, well, it's what the Constitution did, not the Parliament, was to say, Nevis, we have a central government here, but you're responsible for these over in your territory. And so what Destiny is asking for now is the equivalent of past that, in that they want to be able to have their own police, they want to be able to have their own customs, which in Nevis can't even have their own customs because we're under the national customs laws. They want to be able to do that. You're hearing about them having their own ports and all that. You can't do that to a simple developer. It means that we are going to be soon in a constitutional crisis because people are going to challenge it. You can't go far. You can't devolve powers like that. It's ridiculous for them to even think about entertaining Destiny. But by the minute they decided to adopt have safe sailing for the SSZ through the Parliament, they kind of put their foot in the step to the trap. And Destiny has been reeling them in since that, And so now people are ifing and butting whether or not they can repeal, whether or not they have to consider Destiny proposal under the current SSZ Act, or if they can repeal before and it would apply. All those kind of dynamics we are going to know, which really wasn't necessary. All Dr. Ju needs to say at this point in time, no, because something that came out of the drip was that, as it relates to the development agreement, it's like a contract. And so what Destiny has, because it's the development agreement there, we ain't seen anything counter that, any paper that suggests that we're proposing something different from what they have. So what I understand that they're saying is that there would be a cap on their liability of $75 million if it is they're the ones that breach the contract. But by the same token, they want to levy a liability of about $23 billion US on us. But who are the us? The us essentially is the federal government, because it's the Prime Minister who is the signatory, who is going to be the one who is going to affix his signature, and we would be a party to the agreement. So essentially what you're doing is you're creating a debt crisis in St. Kitts, because when you do that, it means that you're exposing the liabilities now contingent liability, because Nevis can't carry that anyway, you know, and Nevis is not on its own. You have to think it's Nevis government. So it means that right away, this $23 billion would mark against our debt to GDP because it is a liability. And so you're talking about the debt to GDP ratio in excess of 1,000%. That is ridiculous. It's crazy. Why would any financial secretary advise the Prime Minister to sign something like that? And the thing is not even for the benefit of St. Kitts, because the Premier is claiming it as a Nevis project. The few jobs, the 300 jobs, they say will be for Nevisions, not Kittitians and Nevisions. So why would the Prime Minister want to expose the federal government to carrying that debt burden for something that he's getting minimal returns on, except for the fact that it might be a CBI project, and they're saying up front they'll be able to maybe get squeeze out another $2 billion of the CBI before the EU shut it down. You know, but who is going to risk that? Why would you risk getting $2 billion now, and then in time to come, because you have no control about the development over here? So if there is some breach over here on part of the NIA, and St. Kitts now has to pay, you would have only received $2 billion up front because you sold the passport. But now you're liable for $23 billion if there's a breach. It doesn't make sense. And so the Destiny project really should be dead in the waters.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Yes, good night, Mr. Manuel.
Hi, good night. Could you raise your voice, please?
Yes, good night, Mr. Manuel. Good night, Dr. Bartlett.
Hi, good night.
Very informative program.
Thank you.
My question is, then the EU intend to shut down the citizen investment program. Where is Destiny stands now? Because the project will run maybe for about 18 months or 2 years. And I want to know how these people have to buy into the Destiny, the potential 12,000 households. If you could answer, please add some listening off here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that.
Well, as it relates to Destiny, the thing is not that these people necessarily want to be citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, you know. These people just want a piece of land that they have total control over, where they can use their cryptocurrency, where they can do their mining, their crypto mining, and establish themselves and get even wealthier. Rich people always want to get richer, you know. And so they don't necessarily want the passport, you know. They just want the space and autonomy. They just want to make sure that they have devolved powers over there to be able to do what they feel like over there without any intervention from government. And so I don't think it bothers them whether you shut down the program or not. That would have been a sweetener. That is a selling point to the federal government, in that if we bring you 10,000 people, we guarantee you we're going to bring 10,000 people, and you can sell them the passport whether they want the passport or not. But you would, on the front end, you would be front loading in that you would get $2 billion, because right now things kind of brown in St. Kitts Nevis. We divesting, meaning that things not good. When government starts selling or breaking bonds or digging into their savings, you know, things not good. And not likely to get, well, the outlook doesn't seem as if we'll be having growth to pass 1.5% for this year, let alone the kind of development that we need here is not going to be stimulated by, are we not going to benefit when they put up a gate between our fence between Nevis and Destiny? And people need to understand that these people are over the tax free. You cannot go in there and get any benefit from there. They decide who comes, they decide who goes. And the way it is structured, it is a different economy. You know, it's an economy that is on our doorsteps. That's how they had described it. You know, they would be doing so well on our doorsteps because they have total control over there. So we're not likely to benefit, you know, as a developmental project really should. Because really that should be integrated. Had the two economies been integrated, in that they had to pay taxes like the poor foot Bob over on this side, poor man Bob over here. If it is that we had that kind of integration, then yes, you wouldn't have this kind of resistance on somebody like me, because I understand economics. You know, I would be like, well, sure, I could see the benefits of it. But for us to carve out and say, well, we're going to divest ourselves of all these lands.
2,670 acres or 4 square miles, something
Right,
like that. Mm-hmm.
right. Just so that the federal government could, in the short term, get a $2 billion is not reasonable. That is not a trade-off that I can sanction. And that is not a trade-off I think that Nevis people should.
And I can sanction a wall 4 miles in length from Saddle Hill, one of my favorite places, to Long Point, and an unscalable wall at that, 15 feet high. We do need some hope for the future. So take a listen.
Everybody now, let's go.
The Nevis Reformation Party presents a massive campaign launch rally introducing Mario Phillip, MP11, the candidate for Nevis 11, St. Thomas's and St. James. It all takes place this Thursday, July 16th at 7 p.m. at the bottom of Jessop's Road. But before the launch, join the Grand Motorcade. This starts at 5 p.m. The starting point, the grounds of the Butlers Community Center. Come early and be a part of the excitement. Better days are ahead. Bring your green. Lots of giveaways. What a massive launch it will be. Attendees to the launch, you will park at the Jessup Sport Field. Buses will be available to take you down to the launch rally. Let's make history together. MP11, Mario for the people.
Mark the date, that Thursday coming. Nevis comes alive with a great prospect for the future. Now, as we creep up on 10 o'clock, I'm going to raise something which has not been often raised, even though we have had, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, let me squeeze in this before you go there.
Yeah.
Who picked that spot there? Dress up. Because me see two things.
Mm.
One, you dress up, and two, now one tight space. And you say, the tight man, dress up. So I will tell Premier Bradley, dress up, man, dress out. You know,
yep.
It's space too tight. Yes.
That's a nice one.
You know the you know the commercial there. You know how long we wait for that, right? So you know that they make me even feel more happier than even Dr. Bartlett and the Cool Rule and everybody.
Yeah, man.
So I can't wait for it.
Things moving. Yeah, definitely. Good night to all the Jessopians, they call themselves, the people of Jessops. The focus will be with you on Thursday night at Nevis 11. I was going to make the point that the Prime Minister cannot claim innocence in all of this. It has been my considered view for the last year that the two leaders were working hand in hand because they had economies which were in bad shape. When the SSZ was passed in the National Assembly, it was led by the Prime Minister, seconded by the leader of the Nevis Island administration and his two colleagues. I think that they were working as a collective at that point because all of them, both of them, on both sides of the Narrows were looking to a resolution for economies which were in bad shape. Now we've been hearing that the Prime Minister is saying Nevis can develop their own plans. His main point over the last year has been SSC is just a framework, right? Nevis is in charge of their lands. He's not wrong. The Premier can go ahead and do what he wants. Deep down, I feel that when this came to the Parliament, Sinkits also had eyes on it because they were looking for investment at Christophe Harbour and Whitegate. But when this secretive project came from Nevis, which set off alarm bells, 2,000 pages, you tell me which one of these members in the Nevis Island Assembly have read through 2,000 pages, right? Some of them ain't even past page 5. I've heard the Premier say so many times, oh, I can't remember what it was, etc., etc. So I believe they were working hands in hands, but the whole thing blew up in their face because of this ridiculous Destiny project. Your response to that? Are we going to be closing off on the calls in just a bit? Go ahead and take this call. Okay. Go right ahead, caller. Please be quick. We're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, Mr. Manners. I hearing people say that the Prime Minister said that Nevis is in charge of their lands. He also went on to say that security is his responsibility. He said border is his responsibility, which takes into consideration the police for security, the borders, port, and health is also his responsibility. And the Premier has said that he's comfortable giving them away to Destiny. And that is another reason why I can't see the Prime Minister signing off on this. It is against the Constitution. Plain and simple. I think the Minister is at a point where he has realized the mistake and he's sitting quietly laughing at us over here with the nonsense that has been proposed.
All right. Pat?
He has realized.
But it is not unconstitutional the way it was done, because you had some smart people who crafted this SSZ, you know. They have a team of lawyers, Destiny, that dedicated years to this, based on the screenshot that I got when the lady Dawn Dakota, when she made, her exuberance, got on post on social media and put this thing up. And so I was able to capture that. And so I recognize that, yes, it's something that they've been working on for years. So when it came, it would have been a good sell on the surface. But after peeling back the layers, it is quite obvious that it is problematic. Because what they managed to do in the SSZ was to get Nevis to temporarily, and the thing is there wasn't any time limit on it either, and it should have been, to temporarily suspend their right over the lands of Nevis for development. That is what they did. If you look in this last section, that is the last thing they have in that SSZ, which is section 10, where it speaks to you got one of the free copies. I didn't get any of the 100 copies that they made. Where it speaks to Nevis consenting. Mind you, the Constitution said that it's only two circumstances that the powers that they already vested in Nevis could be taken back. That is if the Nevis Island Assembly, well, it said Nevis Island Administration. But really, I think that they had erred with that, but we don't have time to address that tonight. So it says that the only two circumstances, if they were to say to the government, send whether it is a letter, it doesn't specify the procedure, whether there is a letter from cabinet or from a cabinet note, whether it is a resolution that came from the Nevis Island Assembly, it didn't specify. But it sounds like and it shouldn't have been accepted as just maybe a telephone call for the NIA to indicate to the Parliament in St. Kitts, yes, we consent to this thing, because the Constitution specifically said in section 37, I think 37.3, that they must request and consent. They put two steps in there, and it wasn't by accident. It was carefully crafted. And the drafters said you must send a letter to say that you're requesting them to interfere in your space, because this is the devolved space. You already gave them the power. So if you do not want to breach the principle, just the basic principle of devolution, in that you give man the power to do something, and then you're going to come right back into the space, take that power without being invited in. So that is why they said you must ask. So you must request. And when you would have, after you would have done that, then, so nobody could show us up to this point any physical evidence of the Nevis Island administration ever requesting the Parliament in St. Kitts to make laws on our behalf to facilitate the SSZ or to facilitate the Destiny project. That wasn't done. And so right there, it's problematic right there, and just on the face of it. But they have done that. And they said, so you can't give a man the power, tell him, oh, you go ahead and then now come back and say, but this is our space. You already gave him permission to enter the space. And so the premier would have done what he could do. The only other circumstance where they could take back these powers or override the powers that Nevis had is if the Governor General were to say, in the interest of defense or some foreign affair matter, we're going to override, we're going to take back the powers as it relates to whether it's health or whatever it is, but it must be something related to defense or foreign affairs, right? That has never happened since 1983 when we adopted this constitution up to this point. But we are seeing this CCM NIA out of expediency this is the second time they're doing it in short order. Because as it relates to our powers for geothermal, they have already sent that to St. Kitts, giving them the permission to enter this space as it relates to our development of our natural resources. And that is problematic. If it is that the Premier and his bunch cannot run Nevis, they need to step aside. I don't think that Sim Daniel and Ivor Stevens and them guys who really put us in a position where we could get autonomy for Nevis would feel pleased to recognize that we are giving it back piecemeal. This is the second time in 2 years that we are seeing something like this. What is next? We can't do that, because that is the reason why, and that is what's to pacify us, Give us the autonomy, give devolution of powers, you do your thing in Nevis, because you want to make sure that whenever you do it, it's directly related to achieving the goals of the people of Nevis, making them live a better life, creating the environment for them to live better and live longer. And what we have seen now is that everything this CCM NIA seem to be doing is using up all the resources, setting aside. The same thing with buildings. They use the buildings, they don't maintain them, they crumble, they shut them down, they move on. And earlier, which is ironic, earlier I made reference to the fact that if anything happens, if you have any issues, is the High Court is going to have to deal with that. But long time we used to say you could just carry the man under the clock. You can't carry them under the clock now. You have to carry them over Bat next to the tamarind tree. Because even the facilities now that are available for the High Court, which is an auspicious should be setting for our esteemed lawyers, to be able to do their craft. They have them in a community center. And I'm saying, there's a lot to talk about. We have already gone over the time. It was a pleasure being here, and I guess we can get a little deeper into the subject matter, because I know the destiny issue is not going away. And you introduced, what Coach Adrian and St. Kitts has been saying. I kind of challenged a couple of the things assertions he would have made, because I think that some of the assumptions he would have made in making the case last week. That Nevis could be booming. He ain't understand the dynamics over here. The people who own land don't necessarily live here. And so this money that he think would just flood into Nevis and we'll have a boom in Nevis, I can challenge him on that one. Because he doesn't really have the local understanding to make the kind of assumptions. Mind you, the assumptions might be reasonable in a theoretical sense, but as it relates to the practicality of it in Nevis,
we live here.
We live here. We know the $600 million is probably going to be repatriated, because a lot of people, don't live here, and maybe one family left back here, and 50 overseas, and so those are the dynamics that I think, But I continue to listen to him. I think he brings good information, and I'm not here plugging his show, mind you. I was just concurring with the sentiments that you would have expressed earlier, and so thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight. It's a pleasure.
Yes, and so we're going to end with Cairo. Postman's delivery.
That's a good way to end.
A young man in his 20s has weighed in, and I always look forward to the Calypso season. I know some of you haven't heard it, so take a listen.
Can I just say one thing?
Oh, yeah. Wait. Let me stop it then. You want me to? Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
I just wanted to interject one. Well, maybe it is what you call a light moment. But Cairo said that the horse and the carriage broke down. But I just want the premier to know that I am retired, so I am a vet. Nobody call me because your horse broke down now.
Well, I assume the horse dead. When last you see that white horse?
I tell you, I just sent a message to him. Nobody come bother me because I'm his neighbor. I don't want him bother me tell me that he has broke down.
All right, let's listen, Cairo.
Mr. Premier, these letters to you I will share. The people's voice disappear when developers claim they play fair. Why can't you see you tearing up we country? Daily concern and the lessons you don't want to learn. Enough critical flaws and enough political errors. We feeling the pain. We want to see Nevis great again. When pressure gets high from a ton load of lies. We no longer in your politics rating. Your own supporters turning blue shirt backward. You like the water, but performance matters. But you no longer the sheriff in town. It's like your horse and carriage broke down. So take this one line from my song. Mr. Premier, please I beg you step down. Mr. Premier, while the island economy slump, sucking the blood of his citizens and killing them by the dozen. You planted to trade all that is the ancestors' rights to Mr. Bitcoin in a heel in the dark of the night. Broken promises, airport bluff every election. We feeling betrayed. You avoiding real reflection. When pressure gets high and the truth amplified. We now downgrading your politics rating. Your own supporters turning blue shirt backward. You like to water, but performance matters. But you no longer the sheriff in town. It's like your horse and carriage brought down. So take this one line from my song. Mr. Premier, please I beg you step down. Well, mailman's delivery. Your double mind, inconsistent liar and whining, unreliable and indecisive. Voters thought you were nimble. Here comes the trouble. Divisions got caught in a bubble. While we will wobble, you pretending to be noble. Like 10 men in one, your speech varies from your action. Here duplicitous, why do you want to divide us? When pressure gets high from the hospital cries. We now downgrading your politics rating. Your own supporters turning blue shirt backward. You like to water, but performance matters. Well, you no longer the sheriff in town. It's like your horse and carriage brought down. So take this one line from my song. Mr. Premier, please I beg you step down. Well,
Carriage, horse and carriage breakdown. Kaiso. I love that one. Well, that's our show. We'll be back next week. Thank you for joining us this evening with Dr. Patricia Bartlett, and thanks for all your call. Good night.
Your voice with the NRP, the show where you get to engage directly with the Nevis Reformation Party. Every Monday from 8:30 to 10 p.m. on 2020 Vision Radio, 102.1 FM. Hear from the